So as I'm sure you heard me mention during the last couple of lectures, we're headed into a section of the course where we talk about React. And before I get into the nuts and bolts of React, I want to talk a little bit about the bigger picture and put React in context. So React is one framework we can use to make what's called a single page app. And I wanted to make sure it was clear what we meant by a single page app. So perhaps the best way to clearly explain what a single page app is by providing contrast with a multi-page app. And so in short, the multi-page app is what we've been doing thus far in Ruby on Rails, where each view, each different page you look at is a separate HTML page that's generated by the server and sent to you. Now, in the context of Rails, it's not so much that the HTML itself is fetched, but it's generated by the Rails engine using that ERB template. And so the reason it's called a multi-page app, of course, is because that app is a collection of different pages, the index page and the show page and the view page and the edit page and whatnot. And this type of environment very much feels like a web page because almost every time you do something, you're going back to the server and getting a new page, and you can feel that lag. Now, of course, Rails isn't the only stack we use to generate a multi-page app. You've probably heard of Django or Spring or Express, Flask. In the .NET world, you have MVC, but Rails is the one we've been working with so far this year. In contrast, a single page app is a website where there's only one page. You load one HTML page, and anything that changes on that page, any of the user interface interactions, are all done on in the web browser itself using JavaScript. So you get one page, and if it looks like you're going to another page, you're really just using JavaScript to change what's displayed on that page. Any communication back with the server is not to get another web page, but just to get data to display on the page, ticket prices or seat availability or whatever your app is. Now, if generating web pages inside the browser itself sounds complicated, well, to some extent it is a little bit. So why would we deal with that? Well, the main reason is when you do that, when you do most of that work in the browser, you get better performance. It feels more like a program that's running right on your laptop or your computer than a traditional web page. Right? In the end, it all comes down to speed or getting rid of that latency. There's also another key benefit, and that is that you can reuse your backend with mobile apps. So just to be clear, when you write a single page app, you still need a server. You need the server to provide the data. If you're using like a single page travel website, you still need a source for the available flights and the tickets and all of that. But that server is only providing data. So if you want to have a system where you have an app in a browser and you also have an iOS app and an Android app, those apps are just providing different views to the same data so you can reuse that back end. And it's much easier to do that than if you write like a full-fledged Express or Rails app and then want to make a mobile version. You end up rewriting a lot of your back end. So like I mentioned, React is only one of many frameworks for single-page apps, perhaps the most popular right now. Angular is also popular, but I think its use is diminishing. Meteor and Ember are out there. I haven't had a chance to work with those, and not on this list, but increasing in popularity is something called Vue. So as we go on to the next apps and we start digging into the nuts and bolts of React, and you're struggling with that initial learning curve that comes with just about every framework, keep this big picture in mind and keep in mind the benefits you get out of the time you invest into a single page app, especially in terms of performance and reusability of the back end.